Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kavustiy here for Chess.com. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is really important and fundamental to chess strategy, and that is the idea of a counterattack. So a counterattack is something that you should try when you are on the defensive. If you are defending against your opponent's attack, oftentimes the best way to react to this is to attack him yourself. In the following position, white played g4. So the point of this move is pretty clear. White is planning h4 followed by h5, take on g6 to open the h-file, play bishop h6 and trade black's best defender, and then try to checkmate black along the h-file using the rook and the queen and possibly other pieces. Okay, so when you're facing this sort of attack on the side of the board, the best way to respond to this is to counterattack in the center. So black played knight bd7, h4, and now e5. This is absolutely the best decision that black could have made. This move is preparing to open up the center. If white just continues with h5, neglecting his king and his development, then the best way for black to continue here would be to play e takes d4 and d5. Now black's rook is opened up against the king, and once these files open up and these diagonals open up, the white king is going to be in much more danger than the black king. So black would be doing really well here. So instead, white played d5, which is relatively the best move. White is trying to keep the center closed. If the center is closed, then his king will be pretty much safe on e1, and he can continue with his attack on the flank. So playing c5 here would be a huge mistake because that would close the center. So black rightfully takes on d5. Now knight d5, queen d5. So here black played h6, bishop d2, and knight c5. Now black wants to play bishop e6, which would trap the queen. When your opponent only has his queen out and all of his pieces are on really bad squares, you should look for ways to use your advantage in development and see if you can gain even more time by attacking his queen. So queen c4, and now d5. So the player playing black here is using tactics to open up the center. Queen takes d5 would lose because of bishop e6 and the queen is trapped. And after e takes d5, black plays e4. Now the e-file is going to be opened up, white's king is still in the center, and these moves g4 and h4 haven't done anything for white but weaken his position. And black here holds the initiative and is on his way to his own very strong attack. Let's move on to our next example. Here white has again started pushing pawns on the side, trying to attack black. f4, g4, and g5. So this is slightly more reasonable because at least white's king is out of the center. But that doesn't make it particularly safe on the side because he just pushed these pawns up and weakened his own king. So if you're playing black here, you need to find a way to strike back. You cannot allow f5 here, which would allow white to start opening up your king. So in this position, black played the very strong move e5. At first glance, it seems like white is just winning a pawn after f takes e5, but now knight takes e5. And the point is that if white captures this knight, black is going to play queen c5 check and win the bishop on c4. And without the light squared bishop, white will not have any attack whatsoever. Black will simply castle, f7 will be defended, and he'll bring his rooks to the center of the board and have a great position. while white will have a bunch of weak pawns on e5, e4, and g5, and his king will be completely exposed. So white here played bishop b3. Now castling queenside. When you're counterattacking, you have to be very alert and look for tactical opportunities like this, right? Instead of just retreating your knight passively, you have to look for more active options, like castling and bringing your rook to an active position. Now white played bishop e3, and black played f5. And at this point, black is doing really, really well. White still can't take the knight, and if he plays e takes f5, black prepared knight c4. Again, if white takes the knight, black will take this bishop, and white's king will be completely exposed and under attack. So white would have to play bishop c1. And now more tactics. Knight takes b2, bishop takes c3, queen e3 check, king g2, and queen takes c3. So black's king here can run to a8, while white's king is going to be exposed for the rest of the game. So black here would be very close to having just a winning position. His rooks are more active, his queen is active, and his knight is soon going to participate in the attack against the king. So those two games were very good examples of how you should react when your opponent starts pushing his pawns on the side, trying to attack while exposing his own position. Right? And the main lesson is that you should look for tactics based on the fact that your opponent has created weaknesses for himself. In our last example here, white has just played the move f5. Again, trying to attack the shelter of our king and open up the position so that his pieces can come in and really do damage to our position. In this game, the player playing black found a really strong defensive idea. He played bishop b8. So he realized that after this move f5, the e5 pawn suddenly became really vulnerable. And this move emphasizes exactly that. Now the tactical point here is that if white played bishop g5, black could play knight takes e5. With the idea that after bishop takes e7, knight takes d3 check, black wins the queen on the next move. So white played f takes g6, and now knight takes e5. Again with this threat of knight takes d3 check, winning the queen. So g takes f7 check, queen takes f7, and knight g5. White defends against this threat of knight takes d3 because now he can recapture with his queen. And after queen f6, black got a really good position. He still has some potential discoveries against the queen, and his knights in the center are particularly active, and his king is in not so much danger because he still has this pawn shelter in front of it, while white's king is still in the center and completely exposed. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson today and took away a few key things, in that when your opponent is just shoving his pawns down the board, remember that pawns can't go backwards, which means that the weaknesses that your opponent is making are permanent and you should take advantage of them. A lot of times the only way to do this is by finding some kind of tactic based on perhaps weak dark squares or weak light squares. If you are unable to take advantage of extravagant play by your opponent, like you can't find the tactical blow that refutes his idea, then you gotta go to Chess.com and use Tactics Trainer every day and train your tactical ability until you can calculate really well and see all sorts of different double attacks, discovered attacks, pins, forks, all that stuff, right? That'll help you develop your tactical ability and will really help you in games, both when you're attacking and when you're defending. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on Chess.com.